Hi guys, welcome back to the Barrister Banter, a podcast by professionals for professionals and with professionals. Today's video is where you get to know us, your host, but specifically your host. I'm the co-host Janks Morekwa. Your host is Doreen Mwangi. Hi Doreen.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very fine. I'm actually really excited to be able to shoot this video today. It's been a long journey up to this moment here. Do you want to tell us about the journey?
Of course. I mean, the journey to starting the pod and even the idea of having a podcast in the first place, and maybe like call it a YouTube channel because you're not fully into the podcasting world. But now, since we are already launched in the YouTube arena, then we can say it's already there. Like it's already something. But it started with me not being well. And it's been a journey because I've not been well for quite some time, dating back to I think even 2017. But then this was the culmination of this great idea. And I think when we were trying to shoot the first time, I was just busy struggling with the meds and the effects of meds and all those things. So I was very dull. And I think even on that trailer, you can tell something is off and something is different. And even now that we're sitting here today, I'm so happy to be sitting here with you today in a similar arena, and just thinking, oh wow, this is amazing. I think having to getting a chance to talk and not stammer and not break and not just look dull, it's just a blessing.
It is a blessing. I was here, we sat here for 2 hours and Doreen couldn't speak, and we were like, we have to do this. We prayed, we stopped praying, and we waited and we finally managed 13 minutes, and that was what made the trailer for this podcast. So for me, it is indeed a big blessing that God has allowed us to be here again, to be able to do this. And this is your chance to start whatever it is you want to start where you are, with what you have, with nothing. Start while sick. Just start. This is a year of starting things.
It's the year of starting, and even in my church, we are talking about taking new territories. And we are, I think, I don't remember where we are taking the verse from. I think Romans, the book of Romans. We're just basically saying, take those new territories and be bold enough to actually get out of your comfort zone and start. Because I think I had this idea. I think I told you about it. I had this idea in 2020. Is it 2021? 2022.
2021 or 2. And it's only materialized in 2024.
Yeah, and I was sick. I should have said, no, let's not start. But we started anyway. And here we are today, and the first video has done well. I think the first video has done really well.
It has.
Imagine umesimama hapo alafu watu 100 wanakufuata nyuma. 100 people. That's a lot.
That's a lot of people for within less than a month. And okay, so you keep saying sick, but people are wondering how sick are you? What's wrong with you?
Okay, nothing is wrong really, but I finally got a diagnosis that suits me, and not really suits me, that is relatable to me. And it's until this season and this year that I decided that I will actually talk about it, and accepting that there will be negatives to it and positives to it, but I'm ready. Like, I think I'm ready to take it all in. So I was diagnosed with bipolar last year, but the year before that I had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And now starting the journey with antipsychotic medicine, and then for some time taking mood stabilizers. It's been hectic, and then all of a sudden you don't understand, because you're thinking, what do they take my body off? Because you're being just pumped with medicine, and then you're like, okay, so today they decided I have schizophrenia, I took antipsychotics. Then tomorrow they decided I have bipolar, I took mood stabilizers. And then now here I am today. I don't know what's happening to me. Of course, with every diagnosis you get and you see, I relate to some of these things. But till recently now, I was diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia, such that with bipolar and my mania, the mania is the high of course, because bipolar has two sides. You have the high
and the
depressive state. So mine doesn't get as depressive, but for the mania, it gets so manic, such that it gets to a point where I get overjoyed and overstimulated, over hyper, anything hyper you can think of. And now that's when the schizophrenia kicks in. So the feeling of grandiose, like feeling as if you can do everything. you see as if everyone is struggling and you're the one to alleviate the trouble. And I joke a lot. And one of the things while I was joking, I was telling people I think Jesus had schizophrenia. Because okay, that's very controversial, but I think because some of the things he did, you wonder how did he do? Like you're in a boat and the boat is sinking,
But you're asleep.
you're asleep.
How
How do you explain getting out of your boat and walking on water? You know. Okay, that's maybe a topic for another day. But now I was diagnosed with both, and now they make sense because now I can be able to say this has been birthed by.
It has been able to explain instances in your life that you couldn't really explain.
Yes, and I remember when we reconnected, you told me, like, since we were in high school together, you told me, no, I told you about the diagnosis, and then you were like, so they just discovered now. And I was like, you mean you could see it?
Yeah, it was so obvious. You had this maniac episode. Like, it's like two personalities, and I was like, could this be bipolar?
Yeah.
Back then, and I was shocked that only till recently were you able to be actually diagnosed.
Yeah, it's been a journey really, and I'm happy. I'm on meds, and now we can talk about it. And I think that's where mental health awareness starts.
Yeah,
you have to go through something for you to be able to talk authoritatively even about it. Not really authoritatively, because of course there are things I'm yet to learn, there are things I'm yet to figure out, but at least there are things I can still be able to talk about and say, oh no, I know what that feels. And we were talking with one of my friends just earlier today, and we were talking about how adolescents feel and how the whole season of adolescence is like with the hormonal imbalance, all those things. And then you think, if at all you didn't know that there's something like that, you'd think you're abnormal. But now, knowing that someone else is struggling and has struggled with bipolar and schizophrenia and is still here today and is still living a normal life, then you can understand, oh, so this exists and it's actually normal. You don't feel as if you're struggling too much or you're out of this world, because I only accepted, even from all those diagnoses in and out of hospital, I have never fully accepted I have it till this year. That's when I actually came to the realization and I said, oh, really? I might actually be suffering. I could tell some people that I'm on meds, because sometimes I would be on meds and then I'd stop. But then I hadn't gotten to a point where I had accepted it myself, because I thought everyone is suffering. And I'm a very empathetic person. So I thought, everyone is suffering. Maybe mine is just a bit different. But then it's time to deconstruct the myths and the misconceptions around mental health.
I'm actually really, really proud of you, because I think for most people coming to the realization that, okay, now I'm here, you took the chance to educate others, to help others accept themselves, to start a space where people could have this conversation, which I think is a big step and something we need to normalize, talking mental health, making it normal that it is okay for someone to say they are depressed or they're suffering from anxiety or they have bipolar, and we can be able to know how to live with them, how to help them, how to love on them and not make them feel bad for something that it is not their fault. And so in the same conversation, so earlier today we made a post about fighting for justice, which is connected to the loss of someone close to you. So how is that connected?
So pretty recently, and by recently I mean yesterday morning, I lost my uncle after a long battle with cancer for like, I think, 1.5 years. And I've never seen such a strong man, in the sense that I'd go visit him in hospital and I'd see he's so strong. And never at any point, even with those rounds of chemo and rounds of radiotherapy, he'd wake up and just go to work. He was an educationist, and he used to run a school. And many people have gone through his hands. And even now, when he was sick and he was battling with it, you would never tell. In fact, the other time I went to the hospital and he was the one encouraging me. And I was like, you know what, Doreen? You're the one there, and you're the one encouraging me. Tell me, he wanted to introduce me to all his doctors. Like, Doreen, come here. Then doctor, whoever, come see. This is my niece and my nephew. This is my niece. Look, she's a lawyer. And you'd feel so happy that you're thinking that he's suffering too much, but yet he has that heart and grace to shower you with love even in that period, and to tell you that it's okay, and to tell you that he'd see things that you wouldn't see. And we are still in the moment of grieving and mourning, and I thought, I'm still working on this. I'm trying not to say my a lot, but I'm working on this idea, and he would be happy to see me working on it. He would be happy to see me sitting here even after his death and still be strong enough to come here and talk, because I think it's genetic. I'm yet to figure out everything, but my grandfather was just like me. And he would all of a sudden have what I'd call now manic episodes. He never got a diagnosis before his death, but he would get very manic, and that's how he started the school that my uncle was running. And I tried to follow up and listen to his story, because I think he's a great man, and he was a great man, and I still have his DNA. Sometimes I can feel
the greatness
in me, and I can
attribute
greatness. It to my grandfather, because of course he was a great man. I didn't get
that
to meet him.
Actually, like when Doreen is in her manic episodes, she has very great ideas. I think, do you make the most money during your manic episodes?
I think investments, in terms of like, I don't know, I think I will do the greatest things when I'm
it's like you're just not stop up.
I can't sit still.
Yeah.
I've made so many friends from even great doctors, from great lawyers, from great pastors, great people everywhere, and it's all because during my manic episodes, I get to talk. I talk a lot, and I'm very, again, I've made during this season as well, I've made great financial decisions, and I think I'm still about to make some more.
Wow.
So I believe it's just a journey. It's a process, and you can't stop the process.
Yeah.
And it's part of life. So I don't say I have a mental disorder. I just say it's an illness. Even then, it's not even an illness. It's just something that you live with.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can manage to live with and live a perfectly normal life.
So can you explain to us how this mental illness has affected your life? Like, of course, there's a manic where you're excited and things are working out.
Yeah.
But we do not talk often about the depressive state. And also, how has this affected your community, the people around you, your family or your friends? How has it really affected your life?
It has really affected my life, because one, when you're dealing with something and you don't know you're dealing with it, it's something else, just as we said earlier. And I'm young. I'm only 22, and I've finished law school. I'm yet to be admitted to the bar. I've finished everything. So the next stop is the bar. I keep on saying this. Because it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy.
And I've been the youngest. My education
classes in high school, in campus.
Yeah, everywhere I've been the youngest. Even at work. Now I think I'm still the youngest. I don't know, but I have struggled a lot to adjust to change. And I think it's because every time when I came to Kenya High School, I think I only started adapting in Form 3.
3 years later?
Yeah. And it was towards the end. And if you remember correctly, even in Form 4, when I was now getting that episode I was sitting mostly with Form 1s and Form 2s. Because I have this thing where if I went through something and I have figured out why, and I have figured out the reason as to like how I can beat it and how I can make sure that I don't go through it again, then I want to make sure that everyone is okay. I remember even with pupillage, the new pupils who are coming in, I was so keen into like making sure if I made if I made a bad decision somewhere, I will make sure that they will not make a bad decision. And that savior technique, like you want to save everyone and you want to save everything and you want to save it has cost me a lot, because I'm here and like I often forget about myself, and I often think to myself, why am I doing this? They don't even need me. but I'm here trying to alleviate pain. And that's why I keep on saying I will fight injustice, but I will fight to a point where I can fight. I will not fight to a point where you fight for things, that yet you're left with the burden of thinking about those people and those things that you have not maybe achieved.
Okay. So in that line, you are a lawyer.
Yeah.
We are very proud of you.
Thank you.
So what motivated you to be a lawyer? Tell us about your law story, your career story.
I think it comes from where I grew up in. My parents are theologians and they train pastors. That's what they do. And these pastors come from low backgrounds and they either can't afford education to be trained as pastors. They didn't get the grades to be trained as pastors. They didn't qualify. They didn't even go to school in the first place, some of them. And so I have dealt with and I have felt the pain of not having things. Basically from me, my upbringing to the point of where I am at today. And I would see so many injustices and so many rots, if I can call them that. And it would pain me. And then again, coming from the savior syndrome, I wanted to save people and I wanted to save things. So I thought to myself, what better way to save things than to do law? And sometimes it gets crazy when you tell people that I want to do law to change, because everyone wants, okay, not everyone, most people want money. I also want money. And I keep on joking. I say, what do you mean you don't want money?
You have to pay the bills.
You have to pay the bills.
So
even if I'm chasing justice and I'm like fighting for justice, I'm fighting for justice and still chasing the bag. Ama maybe I fight justice alafu bag inifuate. Yeah, I saw this meme.
Ikupate mbele.
I saw this meme. Like where you're walking and then a suitcase is walking behind, like inajivuta nyuma yako, so the bag is following you. We pray for that. We pray for that. That's kila wakati wenda una chase the bag. But so I wanted to fight the injustices. I wanted to step in and make sure that everything is okay. Everything can never be okay, but maybe everything can be
but
okay.
You can do your part.
You can do your part in making sure that everything is okay, just by the small acts of being kind, small acts of making sure if you're doing your work, you're diligent at the little you do or the much you do. And change starts with you. So if at all, I don't have to go and stand in the Supreme Court to bring change. If at all at the end of the day, I'm supposed to do something and I know I will do it to the best of my ability, that's fighting injustice.
Yeah, that indeed is.
If at all you're in a space where you're fighting, you're actually fighting injustice in your small room, a small space, you're fighting injustice.
Okay.
So that's when and how I decided to become a lawyer. I don't know whether I've started fighting for injustice yet, but then sometimes we don't see ourselves until you're told. You never see yourself, but I like being aware and seeing myself also, because when you keep on waiting for validation from outside, you can die waiting for validation, because validation doesn't come easy, and you can also lose yourself in trying to be validated by other people. Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So how is as someone who has said that you suffer from manic episodes and depressive episodes, how does that come to play at work? So like give us a scenario of like during manic episodes, how is it for you at work, and during your depressive episodes, how is it at work? And just tell us more about it.
I clock 1 year in employment, because again, pupillage is not really employment. I clock 1 year in me. And I think for the whole part of my pupillage, I was depressed. And I used to sit in that desk. I mean, pupillage is not, you don't get the best experience doing pupillage, because when you're trying to learn, you're trying to immerse yourself in almost everything and trying to gain a skill in almost everything you're doing. And then some people have not decolonized. No, I lack a better word, but like have not opened up their mind to thinking that pupillage can be an experience where you just come to learn. And they think and take of pupillage as if you just have to come and suffer Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Learning does not have to entail suffering, and suffering does not have to entail learning.
Yeah.
You just come here as a people to learn. You can learn without being pressured to learn. You can learn without being belittled. You can learn without being as you can learn without suffering, basically. And people have not appreciated that. So I took a long time because again I didn't, as I told you earlier, I hadn't appreciated that I am suffering. So I didn't even come clean and say this is what I'm going through, please accommodate me. So I had a very hard time in adjusting. Again, change, this is change. I'm coming to a working environment. I'm just used to school. Then here I have to work, I have to be accountable for everything. There's no day I can wake up and say today aki leo sijisikii, enyewe hujisikii. But si unajua people say Gen Z siku hizi tunasemanga ati hujisikii na hujisikii. But enyewe si ati hujisikii. Sometimes some things are just beyond you. You just wake up and you're just heavy.
You have a burnout.
Yeah, and then like I wish we can move to remote working or hybrid situations whereby like people who have such problems can be able to work from home sometimes. Because sometimes you just don't want to see people. Then you go and then
you should be as accommodated as possible by the system.
Yeah. So if, again, attaching that to the question you had asked me before about how living with a mental health disorder affects your day-to-day life, is that most of the times you won't be accommodated. And again, you don't fault the people who didn't accommodate you. First, you didn't speak. Second, people don't even know that you need accommodation. So I forget what your question was.
My question was how it has affected you
workplace.
Workplace.
Yeah. So I finally talked about it this year, and at least I have received the support. Right now I can go for therapy, I can go for see a doctor whenever I want to. And I feel as if now, after talking about it and engaging my bosses on my situation and what I go through and how life is like, and I've been able to be accommodated accordingly. And again, the problem with speaking out is that you don't want to be treated differently. You don't want to be seen as if you are not capable of carrying out tasks. So it's a thin line. Again, we haven't been able to decipher how accommodation and not being treated differently, where the line falls. But then again, we can always find a way and bridge the gap.
So you talk about therapy.
I
would love to know how therapy has helped you, your therapy journey, the little that you can, or the much that you can tell us about therapy.
I haven't been consistent in therapy, but I have been lucky to have someone who consciously or subconsciously took me through cognitive behavioral therapy. And cognitive behavioral therapy, if I'm right, again, I'm not a professional in that field, is when you try and study your patterns and look at how your pattern, it basically entails journaling, recording, taking photos, doing anything that you can do when you're going through seasons that you can be able to tell. Maybe last year when I was having a manic episode, how was I feeling? Last year when I was maybe depressed, how was I feeling? What was the situation? Was I stressed? So you're able to study and know you can easily tell when you are going down or when something is about to be wrong. You can easily tell. You can sit and tell, oh no, I need to go see a doctor. So that's the main goal of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So this friend, she's a very dear person to me, because even during pupillage, we talk and then she tell me, Doreen, do this, try taking walks, go walk your dogs, go do this, try being in touch with, whenever you feel, go breathe. Such things, we think we are so tiny, but they help.
They matter.
Stand out of your desk, go walk, do take tea, take water. Make sure sometimes the reason you're having a bad day is because you have not eaten, your sugar levels are low. So go eat. It's something as simple as go eat, go take water. Sleep enough, have a good sleeping schedule. And so therapy, everyone needs therapy. Everyone should go for therapy. And even if you can't go, there are so many materials you can read. The Bible says and people will perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge is at your fingertips right now. You
Mm.
can just take your phone and Google something.
Yeah.
If at all you are going through something, you just go, what do I do when I feel like I can't eat? Uko hapo tu unapewa majibu tu za hapo tu. So like we need to be more alert and more willing to learn, and more willing to learn ourselves and learn others, because then only then can we deal with what the monsters, the demons that are chasing us.
Yeah. So I think that is enough for today. Thank you so much, Doreen. We will definitely do another get to know us video or podcast where you get to know more about your host, so that before we keep on bringing more visitors, your suggestions will be required. Thank you so much. Please do subscribe. It's free. And it helps us to keep on doing this. It encourages us to keep on doing more videos, to keep on being who we are, and share, subscribe, and like the video. Thank you so much. Till next time. Bye.